Yippee-ki-yay, mother...
Welcome to the party, pal!
Welcome to Yippee-ki-yay, Mother Podcast. Hey, everybody, how's it going? My name is Ralph Quattrucci.
My name is Sean Paul Murphy.
I'm Deborah Murphy.
I'm John Quattrucci.
I'm Chris Coker.
And I'm Drew Gould, and I am excited to be back and talk about Tenet with you guys.
Tenet, what the hell? Welcome back.
Blast from the past.
Drew came back. Drew requested to be on the show, so we invite, we let anybody that wants to be on the show, we let them on. That's how we roll, so this is good. Welcome
Drew
back.
Special.
Drew,
Yes.
yep. Any original
Thanks,
Mother
Sean.
podcast or any ex-Mother podcast are always welcome back on. And Drew had a special request. He wanted to talk about the Oscars. So welcome, Drew.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Good to see everybody.
Nice to see you. Before we get started, Drew, let's do a little what'd you watch? And since you're our guest, why don't you start? I'm sure you have a few things you'd like to bring up that you have watched.
Man, I mean, there's so much stuff. I mean, do I talk about the Reacher series? Do I talk about Kimmy? Do I talk about the Prisoners of the Ghostland with Nicolas Cage? Actually, I'm going to talk about something that I was, if nobody else has an opinion, I want to get John's opinion. I saw a trailer for a movie I did not know existed. And when I saw what it was, I said, what is happening with Tom Hanks's makeup? But the trailer for Baz Luhrmann's new movie, Elvis.
Yeah.
I'm not an Elvis guy, so I don't know if it looks like a good telling of the story, but it looks like a spectacular Baz Luhrmann, crazy, fun movie. So hopefully it will also deliver to the purists. What did you think, John?
It's funny. I was very excited about this movie, and his style is to update everything, and that the trailer definitely had an updated vibe to it. So I'm not sure where they're going to go. I don't think the kid looks anything like Elvis at all, and Tom Hanks's accent he was doing, I didn't quite get that either. I'll probably still see it because I'm a huge Elvis fan, and
Sure.
there's really, I think the Kurt Russell movie was probably the best one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not quite sure about this one. After I saw the trailer, I was like, I don't know where this one's going. So,
Is Hanks playing Elvis or playing his manager?
no, playing Colonel Tom Parker.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, I was distracted by a lot of what they have Tom Hanks doing in that trailer between the makeup and the accent and the performance. But I mean, it's hard to know from a trailer. It's definitely
Right.
not one of those trailers that gives everything away, which is good because it's like 3 minutes long or something.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I want to talk about is a movie that I have been meaning to watch for a couple of years. It's called One Cut of the Dead. It is on, I think it's on Netflix. It's a Japanese, if I tell you it's a Japanese zombie movie, it's not really what it is because the first section of it is all one take. It's a movie about people filming a zombie movie, and it turns out there are real zombies. And if that was the whole movie, you'd say, well, that's okay. It's not really great or anything, except that's only the first 40 minutes of the movie. And then the rest of the movie is this like really loopy, fun, sweet comedy about the joy of making movies and how far you go to make an independent movie. And there's a whole element of let's put on a show that made me smile right through the credits. So it was not what I expected. And it was a little slow, which is, I think, something we could say about today's main movie as well. But I really dug it. I really dug it. If you're patient, it's worth a watch. If you just love making movies, the whole process of it, and people that make it out of nothing, then I think you would enjoy One Cut of the Dead. There are 2 sequels which I have not seen, and I'm not really interested in seeing, but I've been wanting to see this one from 2017 for a while.
No. Okay. Sounds good. Sean and Debbie, what do you got?
Well, I will say that we watched, in addition to tonight's movie, we watched Nightmare Alley.
Mm-hmm.
And we also
The original or the remake?
The remake, the one nominated.
a remake. I won't say how I feel. Like we'll talk about that later. We also watched Don't Look Up. We also watched a Bowery Boys movie, and it's funny because they're the boys, but they all look like they were 50 or 55 years old.
Hunt Hall, Leo Gorcey.
Yeah, it's like they should start calling him Grandpa. It was just one of those.
A long way from Angels with Dirty Faces.
It's a long way, but it's just funny. I know people who are really into that series, and guess just because of the time they played when I was growing up in Baltimore. I never really watched them, but Debbie was in there. It was on TCM, I think, Saturday morning, and she was watching it a bit. So I was watching it, and I'm like, my God, these guys are old. I mean, it still had whatever the charm of the series are.
Listen,
the
you watch
interplay
you watch anything now, and you look back. Like I just got into the Night Stalker. I found that on Blu-ray.
Kolchak.
All those guys look like he was probably, when he did that, probably 36. I don't know how old he was. Darren McGavin.
Darren
in the 70s.
McGavin.
He's always looked old. Like Gene Hackman's looked 70 forever, right? All these people look older than.
Darren McGavin was in his 40s in that movie.
He was?
And
Everybody looked older back then because they all wore suits.
Suits and hats and the hair. Yeah. Anyway, so, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Anything else? That's it?
Do you have anything you want to mention?
No, I mostly worked.
Oh.
You were lifting?
But
I'm lifting. I'm doing the heavy lifting.
this is a commercial for her. If you're in Baltimore and you need to go somewhere, call Lyft. You may get Debbie.
And
I could be wrong, but Debbie, that's got reality show written all over it.
I told her, put a camera in that car.
You can't. She can't do that.
But we
But
gotta sign releases.
Sign releases.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want.
that would be awesome.
All right,
my
Chris
God.
Coker. Chris Coker, what'd
I
you
would
watch?
pay for that one.
Or what do you want to watch? Or what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I actually watched a film called Eiko 1 and 2. It's on Criterion. It is directed by a guy, and I'm going to have to look down at this, Ryusuke Hamaguchi. He's the guy who directed Drive My Car, which I am desperate to get out and see. It's based on a short story by Haruki Murakami, who's a guy, I've enjoyed his novels.
Oh, yeah.
I've read maybe 2 or 3 of them now. And it's kind of this weird, slow-paced film. It's very kind of like quietly Japanese in that regard. Everybody's very reserved, but it's basically about a young woman who falls in love with a guy, and then he just splits. And when she moves to Tokyo from Osaka, she runs into a guy who looks almost exactly like him. And so there's this, and it's just about their relationship. And then of course things go on, and the old guy comes back, and he's now like a model, like a star. And so it's very it's very reserved. It's very quiet. But it's good. His first film was called Happy Hour, and I just haven't had the energy to tackle it because it's like got a 4-hour runtime.
Oh my goodness.
So I was like, I'm going to call that one. But like I said, Eiko 1 and 2. That's what
Are you saying Eiko?
AIKO or something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
And-
Why? I mean, are you into? Is that a genre you're into? That's
I love
you like the Japanese movies?
I like Japanese film, and I love Chinese film, especially Hong Kong films. I think there's a definite distinction between Hong Kong and mainland China films. But I've also recently really gotten into like movies from Taiwan, which have a whole different kind of vibe. Even like the old King Hu Wushu pictures. Anyway, I don't want to get off on it too much, but sometimes I like them. I really do like films that are kind of quiet and kind of introspective, and that's what this is. But for some reason, it kept my attention, even though not a whole lot happens. So I'm really interested to see Drive My Car to bring it back to the Oscars. But I will say one other thing real quick. I've watched the first couple of episodes of Utopia. It's on Amazon Prime, and it is without a doubt one of the more disturbing shows I've seen in a long time. It's all about like manufactured diseases and conspiracy theories.
Oh.
So there's this big opening bit where it says, this is fake. This is not real. This has nothing to do with reality, because it came out in 2020. It actually premiered in 2020. So if you haven't checked it out, it's disturbing. I found it very disturbing. Anyway.
Wow.
John, are you a fan? Hold on. Are you a fan of Ozu?
You know, it's funny. Ozu's kind of I've got a bit of a black hole with Ozu. I've heard of him.
Okay.
I know who he is, but I haven't really gotten a chance to sit down and watch a lot of his films.
I asked because I get the vibe from Drive My Car, and now from what you said about this other movie, that it's kind of an heir to that naturalism, that realism, that very sort of, I guess, gentle Japanese kind of personal storytelling. You know, Ralph, just like Audition.
Yeah, that was very gentle, that one.
I've been curious about that one. I guess there's 10 nominees and 6 or 7 of them are on streaming. And I would like that one to be available. I would like to see that one.
I'm gonna
Ozu
have to
at least
that's
told
a
the films
Charles right
briefly.
now. So
Ozu, what, Sean?
He didn't tell 4-hour movies.
That is true.
yeah,
That's
I've
because
seen a number of his films. I thought they were very interesting.
that's because they drank a lot as they shot them. So you can't shoot full days if you're blasted, at the end of
I
it.
know, I
So,
didn't know that. Makes it more
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, you need a nap.
Yeah,
now.
they love sake.
Right, Chris? All right, John.
So I watched Disney put another nail in the Star Wars coffin.
Mm.
So I watched
Watch
the
what you
book of
say.
I watched the Book of Boba Fett,
I'm sorry.
and I was really looking forward to it because I love The Mandalorian, and a show called The Book of Boba Fett, is bad when the best episodes, the Boba Fett is not in 2 of the episodes, and they
Yep.
were the best episodes because they were setting up the 3rd season of The Mandalorian. And we talk about retcon all the time. They took a great character from the Star Wars lore, and I don't know what the hell they did to him. But
Who's the great
it's
character?
not-
Boba Fett?
Boba Fett was a
All
great
I know
character.
about Boba Fett isn't he the one that in number 3 just fell off the
the
wasn't he-
Sarlacc pit.
Isn't either okay?
He was a
whatever,
bounty
the-
hunter, but in all the other iterations in the books and the cartoons and all the stuff, it's great character, badass, and they just wrecked it. They wrecked the character, and you don't realize how bad it is till the Mandalorian comes along, and you're like, all you care about is the Mandalorian, and you don't care about Boba Fett at all. It was unbelievable, and I don't think they'll make another one, but it got people really excited about the next Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was really looking forward to it. And I was really, really disappointed. Now the episodes with the Mandalorian were great. I loved them, but it was just such a weird show for a lot of different reasons that I won't get into, but I was very, very disappointed.
What's weird about it is that those Mandalorian episodes felt like they were setting up a spin-off.
Yeah.
Except the spin-off is a show that's already been on for 2 years.
Exactly.
And is really good and is reminding me. I mean, I basically felt like I got a really fun jump ahead to season 3.
Well, I think what
miss
happened was
Grogu.
they realized what garbage they had and said,
Maybe.
let's set up season 3 of the Mandalorian. Let's make the best we can out of this. And I think that's what they ended up doing. I mean, you take the lead character out of the show for 2 full episodes. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And then when they came back in the last one, I was like, I don't even want him here anymore. I just want them. And Baby Yoda's back too, which is I love Baby Yoda. So anyway,
Well, my thing with that show is that I found myself asking questions like, why would you fly away and come back with the Rancor when you have a ship with laser guns? And then I realized I don't care.
exactly,
I just didn't care.
exactly.
Exactly how
So-
I feel right now. Like I
Yeah.
have no idea what
Ralph
you're
gets
talking
it.
about.
I know
It's
you
just-
don't, Ralph, because
just-
you don't like that genre.
Genre.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'm the only patriotic one here. I spent President's Day watching Steven Spielberg's Lincoln,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great
And-
movie.
and I have to say that is a great movie. And I'd seen it once before, but this time I actually maybe I didn't fall asleep through this one. I don't know. I was much more affected by this one. Frankly, the fact that the Democrats were the evil bastards in this one and the Republicans were all fighting for the 13th Amendment, and just the way Daniel Day-Lewis just took over that
He's
film.
he's like a chameleon. I mean, that guy's incredible.
I just can't rave about that film enough. And Sally Field was too old to play Mary Todd, but did such a
Yeah,
great
that was
job.
my only drawback with it.
I know, but
I like Sally Field, so
yeah,
you
well,
know.
they were worried. She begged to try out for that, and she got it because she did a test with Daniel Day-Lewis and just killed it. And the movie, I really got into all the politics behind
All the backdoor
the
dealing.
back door, the guys
Yeah.
who were trying to buy stuff and
Yeah.
sell stuff, and James Spader playing that guy. It's just an amazing, and all the actors that are in it that weren't big actors at the time. You got Adam Driver in there. You just go through the list of everybody that's in that film, all in makeup and stuff, and looking.
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones is in there. It's just a fabulous movie, and I'm really
But
glad.
that is an Oscar. That's an Oscar-winning performance. That.
Didn't he win the Oscar for Lincoln?
Yeah, he did, and he should have.
Okay.
It was incredible.
That's a good transition. So Drew,
Yeah.
you wanted to talk about the Oscars, and specifically you want to talk about The Power of the Dog, right?
Yes.
Which we will do. We'll get into that. It's going to be a little spoiler heavy. We'll try to stay away from
A
some of
little?
the main. I know
No,
it's
it's
hard
gonna
not
be
to talk
spoil-
about that,
Yeah.
but let's do a general discussion about how everybody feels about the Oscars at this point. I mean, Sean's wearing his jacket. I'm wearing my jacket. I think Sean used to have parties all the time on Oscar night.
I had Oscar parties until COVID for 22 years.
Yeah.
Not only did I have parties, that was sort of like my event. For the last 15 years, I had screener parties for like every
Nice.
Sunday night for 2 months. I guess
Wow.
I shouldn't say that. I won't say where I got the screeners. But, you know, we'd have people
Yeah.
coming over and watch the Oscar nominated screeners.
Yeah.
You know,
When did
so-
they go to 10 movies for the best picture?
Year
How
before
many-
last or last year?
That
It's been like
started
5,
in like
6 years.
it
Yeah,
started
that's-
in like
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
2009
2
or
years ago.
something,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
No, it's
they
been a
haven't
while.
always had 10, but this year they went for a full 10.
Yeah, because what it was they made the change from 5 to 10, and then they did that for maybe 1 or 2 years, and then they decided they were like, look, we're not always going to do 10. So there was a couple of years where they had like 8 or 7, and then
Right.
this year they
don't
bounced
remember
it
that.
back and made it 10. Yeah, if you go back and you look at like Oscar Best Pictures over the last say decade, there's a few years where there's only like 7. Personally, I can tell you when I stopped. I mean, I've always watched the Oscars. It's one of those things where I honestly feel like I really am interested in what they have to say, even though I know they usually get it, not usually, but they often get it wrong.
They
And for
do.
me, it was, and I'm not making this up, when I saw that, I saw Goodfellas in the theater, and it pretty much blew my mind as an older teenager. And then Dances with Wolves won.
Yeah.
And while I enjoyed, like, I liked Dances with Wolves
Yeah,
at the
that was a
time much
shame.
more than I like it now, I was
Yeah.
like, something's very, very wrong here.
Yeah.
But all
Forrest
in all,
Gump.
it's like, oh gosh, yeah, that's of course.
I don't want to blame COVID and streaming. I mean, partly it's streaming because Sean, you're telling me you had streaming parties, right? So you didn't go see.
No. We were watching DVDs.
Oh, I understood, but my point is, you weren't going to the movie theater to see a lot of those. You were watching them at home.
Well,
Which is what-
I tell you what, I would see practically all the Oscar
Okay, but
nominees.
not everybody would do that. You were still streaming. I guess my point is, has the streaming stuff going on direct to streaming, the quality of these films has gone down.
Well,
I
here's
think.
my problem. You know, for me, I love the movies. I love going to the movies.
Right.
I love seeing a trailer a year before, and reading about the film, seeing who's in it, and then waiting to see it on the big screen. And I'm not getting that with streaming. You know, to me, it's not an event. Even if I waited all year for the film, it's not an event if I just turn on Netflix and it's there.
Yeah.
You know, it just doesn't. And I think I don't think the films are getting better either. Like this year, it looks like the Independent Spirit Awards more than anything else. You get rid of West Side Story and Dune. You know, it just doesn't. It's not. And the shows have not been as entertaining either. You know, I'll give them a little bit of a COVID break, but compared to like Bob Hope and, what's his name? Johnny
Yeah, the
Carson.
whole when Anne, what's her name, Hathaway and
Yeah.
James,
But
when they
it's
did,
like-
the Billy Crystal thing was great. Jimmy Kimmel was kind of funny. I don't know. I just don't have
But
the
to
urge.
me-
I've lost the urge to watch them anyway. Forget COVID. I was losing my urge years ago.
Yeah. But, I still
That's what
respect
they
it.
all say about you, Ralph.
That's right.
Aw.
Oh, boom. Check. I wish I had a drum thing. That was good.
You can add that in
But
post.
here's my thing.
my
I
God.
think what the Oscars is ultimately reflecting is the lack, the lower ratings is cinemas standing in the entertainment universe, theaters and theatrical films. I don't think they're as culturally relevant as they used to be.
Well, the truth is, when you can see everybody everywhere now, right? You're not just seeing these famous people at the movie theater. You're seeing them on
That's a
television
major
now.
factor too.
Yeah, it's
You
nothing.
watch
As
them on Twitter and Instagram, every time they go out to breakfast.
yeah, they're
There's no
everywhere.
sense of
I mean,
mystery.
I really think that's probably part of it. Like, do we need another night? Even Seth Rogen came out and said, I don't want to go see car awards. Why would people want to come see awards that actors are getting if you're not an actor, right? Why would you even go? And I think he's kind of right. And you're right. The oversaturation on social media and all this stuff, there's no more surprises. We know everything. And it's all so packaged and there's no surprises. So, I mean, that's how I feel. Now there's 10 films. I don't know how many. I've seen 4 or 5 of these that are on the list. Yeah, I actually saw West Side Story in the movie theater because, as John knows, I was super excited for that film.
I
saw
warned you.
Dune in the
I warned you.
I
I'll
know.
tell you who really, I'll tell you one example. I agree with all what you're saying, but there's one guy that stands out recently, and that's Ricky Gervais.
Yeah, but he did the Golden Globes.
Yeah, no,
Well,
because he's
And they canceled the Golden Globes completely.
I'm only saying my
Yep.
point, Sean.
well
you
because
missed-
he thumbs his nose up supposedly at all the hoopla,
and
the,
he
you know,
really
but-
did. It was hilarious to watch
Yeah.
it because everything that we're saying about the award shows, he summed it all up in his comical.
Well,
Uh,
but then again, that became part of his act at the thing, right? It became a package thing. Rick, he's going to do his thing, and But all right, let's talk about before we jump on the dog, Power of the Dog. Who saw? What'd you see? I saw Nightmare Alley. I saw Don't Look Up. I saw The Power of the Dog, and I
West
forget
Side
the other one.
Story.
West Side Story, right?
4. Did you see Dune?
I did not see Dune.
I saw 4 too. The only one I didn't see was of yours was West Side Story,
Yeah,
and I saw Dune instead.
yeah,
So Sean and I saw the exact same 4.
yeah. And
I
Drew,
saw
what about
Dune in
you,
the
Drew?
theater, and then the other 3 on streaming.
I've seen 3 of them. I saw Power of the Dog, which I had not watched before I said I wanted to do it on the show because any movie that gets that many nominations, I'm curious about. That doesn't mean it's any good, but I'm curious about it.
Yeah.
And I saw Dune, which has its positive characteristics, but I didn't love. And I also saw Don't Look Up. And I remember when I saw the trailer for that, it was pretty funny. And I said, well, that really looks like an Adam McKay movie about something that isn't real. And then it turned out it was an Adam McKay movie about something that isn't real. And it was more Vice than The Big Short. But I really do. I want to see Nightmare Alley. I really want to see Licorice Pizza.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
the one I
very
wanted to
curious
see.
about West Side Story. King Richard, I had the opportunity to watch that when it was on HBO Max for a month. I never got around to it.
Yeah,
So
me neither. I actually think it's going to be between Licorice Pizza and The Power of the Dog. And I haven't seen Licorice Pizza, but just the vibe I'm getting from that film and what people are saying about it, and Thomas Paul Anderson is an amazing director. So I think it's going to be down between.
so is P.T. Anderson. Yeah.
Because what is it?
P.T. Anderson.
But the other guy is the other Anderson.
Thomas
did,
Paul is the Alan Smithy of indie films, I guess.
right? And he who did what's that movie about the spaceship, the haunted spaceship? That's
Well, Paul W.S. Anderson.
that's the one I'm talking about.
Did Event Horizon.
I'm not
and
talking
the
about
Resident
him.
Evil movies.
He's good
and
too.
Village of Ovich.
No.
He's fun.
Boogie Nights director, that guy, as I'm saying.
That's
So
him,
the other
yeah.
ones are more kind of. I haven't seen Coda, which is supposed to be pretty good. Belfast is
Mhm.
supposed to be pretty good. So, but I did see Nightmare Alley, and I have to say, I couldn't wait to see that one. I was expecting to be blown away, and I figured the movie out within 25, 30 minutes of that film what was going to happen. I had never seen the original, so I didn't know anything about it, and I was ultimately disappointed by that. And as John knows, I was terribly disappointed by West Side Story, which I just couldn't wait to see. The updating of that, I thought, now it's a beautifully done film. Spielberg can't not make a beautiful film. I was like, what's the point? It had made no point.
Well, that was my problem with that movie too.
Yeah, it's like, I don't understand. I get the whole, we're not going to use subtitles, but every actor that he had speaking Puerto Rican, or he had some
Spanish. The
Spanish.
language is
Oh,
called
that's
Spanish.
Spanish. That's what I'm saying.
No.
But it was a Puerto Rican person speaking Spanish. We haven't changed, Drew. This is the same show. Ignorance is bliss. He'd then have an actor go, "What'd you just say? Say that in English, because I'm from America. I don't want to hear that stuff." And they just say it again anyway. And I don't know. I just
They're
felt like-
American.
right? But I'm saying ignorant Americans, and it was like he was trying to update it, be politically correct, and I think he kind of blew it. But having said that, let's talk about Drew, Power of the Dog.
Can I tell you what movies I've seen, Ralph?
No,
Or are
I
we
don't
just
really
gonna
know, because I think
ignore
you've
my-
seen two. How many have you seen?
I've seen 2.
That's
What did you see?
what'd you say?
I saw Dune, which
Okay.
I really liked, but doesn't deserve to be one of the 10 best pictures. And I did want, it's not like I avoided Power of the Dog. I wanted to see it because I'm a huge Benedict Cumberbatch fan. So I watched it.
Why
for
are we
this, but
laughing at
most-
that pronoun? Is it Cumberpatch or Cumberbatch?
I only laugh at you, Ralph. I only laugh at you.
It's Cumberbatch.
It's
Benedict.
Cumberbatch.
Benedict.
And then
Uh,
I just call him B.
I
Doctor-
probably
Doctor
I,
Strange.
I probably would not have seeked out any of these movies to watch. They're not my cup of tea. West Side Story, if it came on TV, I'd probably watch it just to make fun of it. But I had no desire to see any of these movies other than Dune and Power of the Dog.
I mean, that's part of with having 10. When you have 5, I don't know. I just felt like 5 was a good number. It's like they picked the best. This is throwing some of these in that I don't know.
Honestly, guys, I think part of the thing is when they expanded it to 10, I think it was during that period of time, and don't get me wrong, it's continued on since they expanded it, but I think they were trying to drum up popular interest by nominating movies that were more popular culturally, popular amongst a large group of people. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, but in the 80s, I remember being a kid and starting to watch the Oscars, and I remember every year it felt like a movie like E.T. or Aliens or Raiders. There was always like one popular film that got nominated, but never ever won. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was
Right.
like, I feel like they just took that up another notch by saying, hey, because what happens is you get these films that have been literally nominated for Best Picture, but are not nominated anywhere else. They're not nominated for writing awards. They're not nominated for directing
true.
or anything else, except for maybe some weird like sound editing award or something like that. Like, remember when that Neil Blomkamp movie about the aliens? It was really
District
good.
9.
Thank you, District 9. I really enjoyed that. I think it was just nominated for Best Picture, and you're like, but nothing else.
Right.
Anyway, sorry, that was my rant. I think they did it to try to be more popular, to get more people to put eyes on it, so people would care if something really popular was going to win or not. But I agree with you. I think going past 5 has just turned it into like. I think sometimes that's why I think they cut it back, and they said some years we're not going to do 10 because they were just like
Couldn't find
too
10.
lucrative.
Right. Couldn't find 10. But
Yeah.
I think sometimes the nominations are more interesting because of the way that the voting works. Anybody that's a member of the Academy, which is what, like 8,000, 9,000 people at this point, anybody can vote to nominate Best Picture. But if you're a costume designer, you nominate who you think did the best costume design, and same for all of the branches. So if you look at the 3 or 5 or however many nominees for sound design, you're looking at what all the rest of the sound designers in the Academy think is the best sound design, which is really interesting. And I certainly have watched movies and thought, wow, I really like the sound, that sort of thing. But I mean, they know how those films got there. So at the end of the day, when one of those wins the award, I'm curious, but everybody votes on all the awards. There are certain rules, like if you haven't seen any of the foreign films, you can't vote on them, that sort of thing.
Same
But
with the
everybody,
shorts, too.
yeah, and the shorts and the documentary shorts and the animated shorts, all that stuff as well. I mean, I think there's a line drawn when all these things get nominated, and it's interesting to see. Well, that one got nominated for Golden Globes and BAFTAs and SAG and DGA, and people play all these games that, well, if it was nominated for this, then it's probably 90% chance it's going to win that, and blah blah blah, and all that kind of stuff. But it is essentially the industry congratulating itself. So I don't really care who wins as much as I'm just curious to see what they get excited about. Except that there are movies that I love that I feel like, well, if Mad Max Fury Road won 6 Oscars, that might make somebody want to see it. And I think, it's exciting. Also, by the way, I haven't read it yet, but there's an oral history book of the production of Mad Max Fury Road that came out today that I'm sure is great. But I think it's really kind of
Drew, let me cut in for a second. Den of Geek.
Side.
Den of Geek just did the top 10 sci-fi movies of the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And number 1 was Fury Road.
As it should be on every list.
I thought you'd enjoy that.
I will check that out. Thank you for letting me know.
What was
Well,
that?
it's
That was a movie that deserved Oscar
I know, but it's part of the
nominations and
problem that the
everything.
Academy is made up of old people, and
It's
Mad
not
Max
made up of as many.
Not
old people.
anymore.
It's made
It's
up
not
of
anymore, but
successful
they're
people.
also handing off. People are like, I used to vote for the guy that I worked
No.
for. He would always hand me his Oscar votes. I'd pick the ones
No.
that he wanted. So I don't know.
I think it's is it Deadline or Hollywood Reporter that has a series where they interview anonymous voters
Yeah.
and they ask them like,
Deadline.
what are you voting for and why? And some of the stuff they say is just the dumbest shit. It's really kind of crazy with the things they come up with, but it's
What do they
interesting
say?
because it's just people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's just people.
And
Yeah,
there's a
they'll
lot
say
of
stuff like,
And
"Well,
you
I
know
worked
what?
with that person 7 years ago, and they thought they were nice." So I'll
right.
vote
I
for
mean,
that.
and so you look at the list and you just Paul. Didn't I say Paul Thomas Anderson when I brought that guy's name up? What did I say?
You said Thomas Paul Anderson.
Oh, I've reversed it. Oh,
but
okay.
that's in the multiverse. That's a different Earth.
All right. Well, let's jump on this. Let's talk about Power of the Dog. So, Drew, go ahead. Let's talk about
I do want
describe
to
it.
throw
What-
in
Go ahead.
one last little thing generally. I agree. You know what Drew was mentioning about deadline and stuff. It always drives me. I'm a huge fan of animation, right? I think animation is so creative and it's so great. And all they ever do is they hand out that golden statue to whatever Disney film or Pixar film happened to come out that year. And it's because all these people, they go, oh, well, you know, I saw that film. And don't get me wrong, Disney and Pixar, they both put out some great stuff. But it really chaps me in the end because I see stuff as like amazing. And then and it's original, it's super creative, and it's not just the same well-made product. Do you know what I mean?
But again,
And I'm not
are they generally voting on that, or does that go to animators to vote on that, or is that one of the general?
animators
Once-
to nominate.
Right, and then everybody
Animators,
Okay,
yeah,
then
everybody
everybody
gets
votes
the
on it.
award.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that because the one of the movies that's nominated for animation this year, I haven't seen Encanto. I hear it's beautiful, and I haven't seen a bunch of stuff. But there's one that my friend Yiftach, he goes by Mr. Levy. He said you should watch The Mitchells versus the Machines,
Yes.
and
Oh, that
I
was
did,
nice.
and
Yeah.
it was delightful, like really
Yeah,
sweet
good.
and funny and really well done. And I was looking at all the movies that got nominated, and the only other ones that I watched, I think, were Mitchell's versus the Machines and The Eyes of Tammy Faye, which is a really crappy movie with a couple of good
Thank you.
performances. Oh, it's just really disappointing.
You know what?
I liked her though. She was great. I
Yeah,
thought
she was very
great.
good. She's
Yeah.
very good.
To me, it was like, other than the fact that it had bigger names, it was no better than a Lifetime movie, you know, on like the Lifetime network. It was just crap. It just scratched the surface. You know, I would have liked to have liked that movie, but there was no depth to it at all. It wasn't even interesting.
I mean, I
Wasn't
think it
just
had
a
an
caricature?
agenda.
Wasn't it just her playing?
Well, no, I mean, I think it had an
Well-
agenda, which is to say that she was this woman from the South who was a televangelist who was also a genuine advocate for gay human rights, and that's true. And some of the stuff that she did is quite remarkable. So everything else that she did is okay, except it's not okay. And the movie really soft pedals stuff. Like they have a thing where they talk about that woman keeps calling. You mean Jessica Hahn, who your husband and another guy raped and lied about, and all like none of that's in the movie. And I think that Tammy Faye did remarkable things for gay rights, and also was a repugnant liar who was a televangelist who took people's money for, on a false basis. And the movie could have been a lot more interesting. Like if Aaron Sorkin wrote it, it'd probably be more interesting.
Well, let's not go there because I think I'm in the real minority because there were a couple films I was really looking forward to this year, which I assumed would be big Oscar films. And one was Becoming the Ricardos.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
And I
Oh.
did not like it. I
I
think
was
I had to
so-
force Debbie 4 times before she got through it.
I wanted
You're used to
this
that.
movie so bad. You know, when you know this is going to be a great film, you just can't wait to see it. And then you see it and you go, what?
Wah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one.
So did I.
I enjoyed it.
I thought the problem was with the script. I thought
It was the script.
Javier Bardem, I liked him. He could really sing. He did those Desi Arnaz numbers really well. I thought he did a great job.
Yeah. Well, I like what they did in that, like they did in Lincoln. They took a piece of the life, not the whole life, not from
Right.
birth to death. And I like that sort of. I know they have to cram a lot in that week. I get
Yeah,
it.
they compressed a lot of
They
time.
have to. They
in
did
that.
it in Lincoln too.
They
But-
compressed
but,
like
you know.
about 5-6
Yeah.
years. And
All right, let's go.
So speaking of Power of the Dog,
So Power of the Dog. As I said, I had not seen it before. I said, let's watch it. And I picked it because it got 12 nominations, which is the most nominations of any movie this year and up among the most nominations ever for a movie. And sometimes these movies, if it has a big groundswell, it will get nominated across all these categories. And if it ultimately turns out to have won Best Picture, it's not surprising that it also won 6 other things, whether it's costumes or cinematography or anything like that. So I watched it on Netflix. I didn't go to the theater. I haven't been to a movie theater in 2 years. And I thought it was really quite remarkably good. It was also very slow.
Yep.
And it's a Jane Campion movie. And Jane Campion is the director of The Piano. which did win Oscars, and it's a really extraordinary movie. And it feels like a Jane Campion movie. It also feels like a P.T. Anderson movie. There's some There Will Be Blood vibe in there as well. But Jane Campion, her movies are always absolutely gorgeous. They have amazing scores. I mean, every frame of picture, it's extraordinary, these movies. Also, the two movies of hers that I liked the most were actually The Piano and this one, and they both have pianos and full frontal male nudity. And that Piano was Harvey Keitel, and in this it's Benedict Cumberbatch. So I think, she's got a formula. But I think that what was really exciting about this movie was that it was slow, and to me, it was worth the wait. Yeah. And I totally understand it if that's not how everybody, including some of you guys, feel about it. But what it did with that movie, and we'll talk about the details of it later, there's a certain setup where this is who's in the movie, and this is who they are, and this is what they do. And instead of it just being watch somebody evolve over the course of the script, which is fine in many movies, and somebody changes from the beginning to the end, you were like, wow, that is not what I thought was going on. I did not realize that was what this character was motivated by and was thinking. And I found that really satisfying.
Ultimately, it's what made it very satisfying for me. So go ahead, Chris, jump in.
I was going to say, one of the things I really loved about this film, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. I'm totally fine with slow films. It's a gene that I have, I guess. But one of the things I loved about it was the setting. I thought the setting of 1925, obviously out in Wyoming or wherever they were. Montana was brilliant. And what I mean by that is it is that period of time where the Old West, as we think of it in our popular mentality or whatever, and the New World literally were colliding.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? They live in this gorgeous mansion. I mean, it is beautiful. It's hardwood. Everything is polished. It's gorgeous. They're not living in some kind of rustic hut, or log cabin, and they're barely making it. It is a beautiful place. The Benedict Cumberbatch person is, like the great line with David Carradine, he says, does he yell at the cattle in Greek or in or Latin, right? Because he was classically educated.
Yale
educated,
Yale. I think. Yale,
yep.
I think.
Yep. But I love that idea, but he still rides a horse. So many people out there still ride horses, and they come in and they do this. And there's like this, it's like that collision of time. Do you know what I mean? Where truly ages are changing. And of course out West, where civilization quite hadn't gotten there. I found the setting to be fascinating. And Kirsten Dunst, wow, terrific. Yeah. I really, really enjoyed her in the picture as well.
Yeah, I'm a little bummed out that I didn't see it in a movie theater, because I think New Zealand was Montana, and some of the shots were just stunningly
absolutely
beautiful.
Those landscapes and those deep focus lenses were just gorgeous.
I sense a little trepidation on the other side of the room here that some people didn't like the film. We can get into some of the details and get into it, but just general observations, Sean and Debbie and John. What did you guys? Well, I may be wrong. Maybe you guys did like it. I have no idea. I can't tell by your faces.
Let John go first.
It was a weird movie for me. It's not that I didn't like it, but my wife and I watched it, and I kept saying something's going to happen. I don't know what, but something's going to happen. And I kept saying that over and over and over. And I'm like, I turned to her and I go, I don't know if something's going to happen. Now the payoff is at the end. And then you realize the film's really about developing a serial killer, which I found interesting.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
But if you look at the performances, this is one of those movies. The performances were great. Other than the Kristen Dunst's husband plays her husband in the movie, her real husband.
Jesse Plemons.
Yeah, he was okay. He was kind of nondescript. I didn't quite get him. I thought Benedict Cumberbatch was great. I thought Kristen Dunst was great. The kid, I thought the kid was okay, but I found his performance, and maybe this was a conscious choice, I found it very one note the entire movie. Even the payoff was a one note thing for me. And I did a little background on it, and what I found out was, again, spoilers, I didn't understand the payoff. Like, did he really deserve that payoff? And then when I did a little background in the book, his character and all his buddies beat up Kristen Dunst's husband, which forced him to become
Right.
an alcoholic who ended up dying, which
Right.
explained a little bit more of motivations that was not there in this movie. Now, again, one of the things that you guys already talked about that I always talk about, when I see something in a movie I haven't seen before, locale wise, I love that. And the landscape was just, you all talked about it, so I don't have to rave about it. But that was the biggest thing for me. I don't mind slow either, but it was just like nothing is happening in this movie. It seemed like a bunch of scenes strung together, which pays off at the end. That's what it felt like. And it just, for me, it just took too long to get there. I did not like it. I'm not thinking about it as glowingly as you guys are. There was nothing going on for too long in this movie for me.
Wow,
You know,
that's
when you
amazing.
start to wander in a movie,
Yeah.
I don't like that feeling.
Yeah,
I don't like
understood.
that.
Yeah.
And it didn't keep my attention the whole time.
Wow. Okay. That's fair. Sean and Debbie?
Well, first, I'm going to say the same thing everyone else has said. It's an absolutely beautiful movie. You know, to look at, it's really wonderful. And that's great. And I really like BC. I'm not even going to Benedict, or just Doctor Strange, as I like to call him. And
Steve.
Sherlock.
you know, it's funny. When I went into this film, when it came out, I read one or two reviews, which didn't give away too much, but they're like, he's a character who has a secret. You know, and as soon as I saw him, I knew what the secret was. So I think those reviews even gave away too much, you know, but I thought he was great. I've subsequently read reviews that felt that he wasn't good, but he was great. And I enjoyed watching him through the whole film. And the funny thing about the other guy, Jesse, is literally right before I watched that, I watched, what was it, Antlers, a Wendigo horror film where he's the sheriff in it. So it's funny. I watched it back to back. I'm like, is that the same guy that was just in that horror movie? we
He's
watched?
married. He's married to Kristen Dunst too, I think.
Yeah.
I think
You know,
they're
so
married.
I really liked it. What wasn't working for me was the score.
Oh wow.
Now, the score
really?
was magnificent,
Yeah.
but the score was for a different kind of movie than I thought this movie was. The score
Interesting.
was really ominous
Yeah.
and all. And I'm sitting there thinking,
Like,
I made my guess, and I'm like, this is going to be Brokeback Mountain. You know what I mean? So I'm like, why is this score so spooky? Why is this score so ominous? You know, because I did not expect the movie to go where it did. And I'm glad it went where it did because I think it justified its existence. But, you know, it was very slow, and Debbie loves slow movies. So she was
I
loving
like
the first
the
one.
quietness of it and the contemplativeness of it. And I really was disappointed in the change of the female character lead. I thought she was the lead, but she was like, her character had no development. She had no arc. You know, her arc or whatever, her reason for being there was diminished into some kind of nothingness. You know, there was no satisfaction there in her role then her relationship with her son was very, you know, Hitchcockian, I would say. You know, they always do that. They always mix the moms and the sons up in a strange way.
Hey, a boy's best friend is his mother.
And you know, that explains a lot, but then this film did not answer any of the, you know, the questions that they were bringing up. So it's a weird kind of, the first part, I love the first part of the film. I'd give it like a yippee-ki-yay, but the second part is just totally, what?
Yeah, so
It's
fascinating.
interesting because I would like to ask the people on the podcast. So we're going to have to definitely go to true spoilers at the end.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
after this film, you know, at first, you know, you look at textually and you say, oh, this is what set this up. This is what set this up. But there were some areas I was still confused. And I went to read the reviews and all, and the reviews were all so coy
You have
you
to
know,
be. You can't.
that they
I
didn't.
mean, I
stay.
heard the same reviews where they said he's got a backstory and it's all about, and Jane Campion's themes are men and women, right? That's, I think this is what I read. I'm not saying I know this, but it's about men's relationships with women and misogyny and basically men in the world and how they relate to the women in their world. I felt dread from the minute this movie started. Now, whether that's the music or what, that
Yeah.
woman was being gaslit from the minute. Everybody in that film was being gaslit by Cumberbatch's character, Phil. Okay.
Yeah, he's a bully.
He's a total bully. That scene in the first scene in that where they're having dinner and the kid's prancing around. We never know that kid's sexuality. We're making assumptions based on what he's doing. The little flowers that he made that Cumberbatch sticks in the water, and the crass joke he made, which forced the mother to cry, which sets up the whole thing. George is this sensitive guy, wants to marry this woman whose husband committed suicide, by the way, right? Now, based on the book, that's a backstory that would have helped this movie.
Yeah, that's some backstory that might
Right?
help.
But I felt dread. That scene, the dueling piano banjo scene that goes on in that house, and the way everybody was gaslighting this woman. That's why she had no personality, because she was being pushed down the whole time. Even her husband, who loved her, is making her play the piano, and she keeps saying, I don't want to play the piano. I don't want to do this. But he has the governor in there, and he's trying to impress everybody. Nobody's listening to this woman.
No,
And-
I think Ralph, what I was thinking about that movie when she was, he was trying to build her up, and she was like diminishing herself.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm not good. And she was rushing through the piece. If she would have slowed down in her piano playing,
yeah,
she
but
would have
remember,
been
she's trying to
good.
practice the piano, right?
but slow it down.
But
When you
she's
learn,
proud-
Yeah,
but
she's
but
being
Debbie,
bullied while she's practicing.
She's practicing the piano, and Phil comes in, picks up his guitar, and starts dueling banjo against her.
I thought it was a scene out of Deliverance, actually.
That's the whole point. He was trying
is
to
the whole
bully her.
point.
I thought that was going to be a turning point, that they're gonna, the music is going to be the thing that brings her. No, Phil was very
First,
just.
I thought maybe she had a thing for Cumberbatch.
Phil
Sure.
was jealous of the brother.
No.
Phil was jealous of the brother's relationship, so he's trying to destroy that from word go.
Because it took away from their relationship.
Because
Yeah,
he
exactly.
wanted the brother to be close, right?
Of course. So he was.
And that scene was the scene where she started drinking
You
for the
guys
first
feel
time.
Yes.
that brother thing going on in the theme there?
Well, she started drinking
It was
when.
like you guys.
Was it like you too?
No, she
Yeah,
started
Ralph was
drinking.
always jealous
No,
of me.
I wouldn't care. You
Always.
get married all he wants. She
Very
started
jealous of me.
drinking when her husband forced her to play the piano that night. That's
Yeah, he
when the
drank
drinking
that,
started.
that little girly drink, the orange drink
that
with
he
the
made,
orange
that
thing in
George
it.
made.
Yeah.
So I was feeling dread from the word go, and the music helped that. Whatever. I didn't know. Now the surprise turn, we'll talk about it, was fantastic because my mind was going one other place.
Yes, same here.
And it flipped. Now there's signals through the whole film.
Spell it out. What did you think was going to
Well,
happen?
let's say
We'll save that.
spoiler.
We'll save that for the spoiler. But well, we'll do some more general. Then we'll say okay, spoilers from now on because it's the only way to talk about it. Drew, anything else?
I agree.
Go ahead.
For me, the sound. I was expecting just the intensity of Cumberbatch's performance put together with the sound and the relative, physical frailness of the boy and the mother compared to Cumberbatch. We see him and he's literally rooting around in the mud like an animal. And he's like pure, physicality, but yet mixed with this kind of evil intellect. I was completely expecting something terrible to happen. And it's funny, I think maybe Drew, it was you that mentioned No Country for Old Men. I kept feeling like the entire movie was building toward a collision, like in No Country for Old Men. And like I said, I don't think this is too spoilery, but like No Country for Old Men, where it kind of robs you of that confrontation. This one, it takes such a strange turn that you're left a little bit with whiplash because you're expecting one thing and it truly did a good job of faking you out. I mean, when I get to the end of a film and I'm like, that's not really where I expected this to go. I'm
Right.
always so excited and surprised.
Yeah,
So
unlike
that's one of the
Midnight
reasons
Alley,
why-
the Nightmare Alley, I knew within 35
Oh my
minutes
gosh.
what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And it
The
ruined it.
moment,
This one,
Yeah,
I
the
did
moment-
this one, and I'm not a Jane Campion, is that her name?
Yeah.
I'm not a big,
Good job.
I didn't see the piano. I don't see her films, but now I think I want to go see her films
Oh,
based
you
on,
like the piano. It's
yeah,
great.
based
Piano
on
is
this.
Gorgeous.
We are the champions
Yeah.
of the world.
So,
Can I say something about
let me-
Nightmare Alley real
Yeah.
quick?
Yeah.
Debbie
Quick.
was making a point, and she hit on something while we were watching it. She just didn't like the performances. And I think one of my problem with Nightmare Alley, other than the fact that it was nowhere near as good as the Tyrone Power film,
Tyrone Power.
which
wow.
was 90 minutes long, and this one is 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And it added nothing. But the problem, I think Debbie touched, when she mentioned it, I can articulate what I felt. In the Tyrone Power movie, these people were in a 1940s movie playing characters. But I felt in the new version, they were actors pretending they were in a 1940s film
Yeah, they're-
playing characters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like they were in love with what they were doing, being, hey, look at us. We're in a film noir, 1940s film noir film.
Yeah.
That's my impression. The film had other problems, but to me, that was an underlying problem.
And
with
I really love Bradley Cooper. I mean, he's great. But in that film, he was too old to play that role.
great cast, lots of great
Great.
actors in the
But
film.
he was acting as an old
All right.
All
right.
time.
Well, that wasn't a very quick thought. Let's get back to Power of the Dog. So
Let me
Right.
Okay, I just
Let me
wanted
say-
to give my feelings on that.
let me say a couple of quick things. First of all, Debbie, you said you like a slow movie, and the word that I wrote down while I was watching this was languid,
Yeah.
because it was definitely slow, but it built an atmosphere and a feel that I enjoyed. And we talked about the music. That score is by Johnny Greenwood, who was in Radiohead or is in Radiohead. He's a very interesting composer. I did not love it. I thought some of it really worked. In the piano, the score was done by Michael Nyman, and that is one of the all-time greatest film soundtracks and listenable over and over, just gorgeous stuff. So that's part of Campion, is putting all those pieces together. But it's funny, I mentioned There Will Be Blood. I meant to say that I found out that Jesse Plemons' role, who is this like milquetoast kid pushed around by the main bully, was originally supposed to be played by Paul Dano, who was the milquetoast pushed around by a bully.
Yeah, that
and
would-
There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
So that sort of helped me with the P.T. Anderson connection. I also want to say Jesse Plemons is a really wonderful actor. He just is amazing in Friday Night Lights. He's so beautiful and warm and real. And then in Breaking Bad, he's an absolutely terrifying all-time
Damon.
Nazi villain.
Yeah, he's
Oh my
Meth Damon.
God. But without getting into the spoilers yet, and then maybe this will lead us into the spoilers.
Yeah.
To me, this movie is about two things more than anything else. This movie is about shame, and this movie is about masculinity.
Right.
It does look like Kirsten Dunst's character is more central. So I agree with Debbie that it's kind of like she just becomes this drunk, but she's the one who drives it. I didn't know this was a book. I have never read the book. The fact that in the book, the main character, the son, Kirsten Dunst's son, played by Cody Smith McPhee, is motivated to avenge his father. That's fine. I didn't feel that was something missing from this, because by the time you get to the end of the movie, you realize what motivates him more than anything else is, I'm going to protect my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And he spends the movie really upset with his mom and disappointed with his mom and like, why are you drinking and all these things, but he's still going to protect her. Did he do something to protect her that maybe is too much? I think you could make that argument, but that was his motivation. But the scene that's the most important in the movie that really switches when you realize, what am I watching? This is not what I thought I was watching. It's intimated the kind of relationship that Phil, Benedict Cumberbatch, had with Bronco Henry. He was a younger man and an older man. And essentially Phil's, here's a spoiler. Phil is gay. He's a gay man in
All right,
1925.
let's just,
Montana.
we're done. We got to spoil.
Okay.
All right. We can't
All right,
talk
so
around
he's a
anymore.
gay man.
Okay.
He's a gay man in 1925 Montana. And so he's insecure about that. He's very unhappy. He's very confrontational. That's clear in that very early scene where he's calling the kid a Nancy boy and making fun of his flowers, and they call him worse and they whistle at him because the kid has a sort of feminine affect. But the scene where the son goes to see his mom or goes to the camp out in the wilderness, and Benedict Cumberbatch watches him walk down past all of those cowboys, and they're all mocking him and whistling him, and that kid doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And that really gets Cumberbatch's attention, because there's an insecure, miserable, confrontational masculinity, and that's Cumberbatch, to the point where he bullies someone that is just, I mean, why would you bully Kirsten Dunst? It's ridiculous. She's not someone that's any kind of threat in any real way that you should destroy her. You should build your own relationship with your brother, be an adult. But Peter, the son, he is confident and he doesn't care. And it's really very striking, both to see that and to realize how strong this kid is, and also to see Cumberbatch's reaction to it, which is to say, this girly kid, I think he might be gay, and I might be able to be Bronco Henry to him the way that Bronco Henry was to me. And that was not where I thought the movie was going. I mean, it was clear Benedict Cumberbatch had secrets. It wasn't like American Beauty where Chris Cooper shows up and he's like, I hate gay people. And you go, well, I mean, I guess you're gay. But the other part of that that's important with this movie is about, it's not a Western to me. It's set in the West, and it's decades after Deadwood and Billy the Kid and the last vestiges of that era, which we talked about. But the movie that it really reminded me of is my favorite Western in some ways, which is The Big Country. I don't know if you guys have seen that. That's with Charlton Heston and Gregory Peck. It's by William Wyler the year before he did Ben-Hur. Burl Ives won an Oscar for playing one of the main characters in the movie. He's terrifying. Chuck Connors, the rifleman, is absolutely
kudos for picking a Western I hadn't seen.
Oh, you should see it. It's fantastic. It's beautiful, widescreen. But that whole movie ultimately is about the conflict between the masculinity of Charlton Heston, who's like a cowboy like Phil, and Gregory Peck, who's a perfectly secure boat captain from Baltimore, who moves out there to marry the daughter of a rancher. And the way that those two confront each other and what it means to be a man, there was a lot familiar in this movie. As far as, I mean, I like The Big Country better than most movies ever. So I think it's better than this movie, but the way that it interrogates masculinity, again, not what I expected, was like, really, what am I watching? This is really quite surprising. Like Chris said, I got to the end and I go, I did not know I was going to get here.
Well, really, I mean, because it took that. Okay. So a couple of things. Yes, he was protecting his mother. The kid was protecting his mother. There's that going on. That scene that I think there's a couple of scenes, but the one where Phil puts the skins up on the fence, but he makes those skins, but he's not gonna use them. The woman says he piles them up and puts them in a fire. And the reaction that when he comes back, when they come back, and Kristen Dunst's character is given those skins to a roving band of American
Native
Indians
Americans.
or something. Who she just gave them, and they gave her was a glove. I think they just gave her a glove.
They gave her a beautiful pair of gloves. Yeah,
a pair of gloves, and it was the most beautiful gift she got. And when he has that reaction, when he finds out that she gave those away, when Phil found out and he had that freak out, those are my, I think that's where I don't know if the kid had, obviously the plan had been put in. When he finds that dead cow.
Because he found a dead cow before.
Right. What we haven't said is the kid was a medical student. So he understands how people die. And there was anthrax was a big deal in this movie. The cows, I guess, get anthrax. And if you get anthrax, obviously you're done.
And don't touch that cow.
I thought it was going to, because they do that whole scene right before all this stuff goes down, where he asks him, did you ever see Bronco Henry naked? Mm-hmm. Right. And they cut to the next morning. And everybody's going, Where's Phil? Where's Phil? He's supposed to be up. Where is he? I think he's going to go up in the room and he's going to find the two of them in bed together.
Right.
And that's going to cause this whole thing. And when it didn't do that, when it became that this is a little Dexter kid and he's a good serial killer because Phil was kind of a bad guy, I just was blown away. And then you start thinking back of everything that happened in the movie and you go, oh my God, this was set up from the beginning. And he was trying to save his mother. As much as he was disappointed by her, he couldn't stand seeing what this guy did to her. Drinking in the alley, he's whistling while she's finding bottles that she's buried everywhere. And how he destroyed her. And that's what the kid was. That's what the whole reason for what he did. And he set him up. He knew that he was gay. He found those books in this little place that he used to go to.
Yep.
Now, whether it was a Bronco Henry's, and he used his brain and his, like you're saying, walking past all those, by the way, young cowboys that Phil always had around him, right? Yep. And he would roll around in the mud because he didn't want to talk to anybody. He wanted people to stay distant from him, like the governor and that whole scene when he comes into that dinner scene. His whole persona about, I'm a muddy, dirty guy, just stay away from me. But they loved it. They thought, he was he was an icon over there. And this kid figured out how to get under his skin, and he used sexuality to kill him.
Right.
Yeah. And
we don't know. We don't know if Peter is gay, and it doesn't really matter.
I have no idea.
What motivates Peter is I'm going to protect my mom. That's I don't know that it makes him a serial killer, but he's definitely
unless he does it again.
Yeah. Here's a question. Now, obviously, Peter uses Benedict's sexuality as a weapon to kill him, to protect his mother. However, there was a scene before, one of his last scenes with his mother.
Oh, you're going to get into this. You're going to actually ask this question. Go ahead. I know where you're going with
Well,
this.
what's the question?
I think you wonder if they were going to sleep together, the son and
Because
the mother.
that's what it definitely seemed like.
No, she was just.
Oh, I didn't get that vibe at all.
No, she was.
I
just,
definitely got that vibe.
Oh, I definitely got that.
And Ralph, the fact that you're saying you're going to ask that question shows that at least it went through your mind.
well, only because I had talked to you before, and you had told me about
No,
this,
I
and
mean,
I
it's
tried
like-
to put it down
like-
then. I was like,
It's like
come on.
that English film, it was an English Tea and Sympathy, where the woman tries to save the person from being gay. I think,
I didn't get that vibe one bit. I got it that he was feeling he was disappointed that she was such a raging alcoholic, and that I mean, she was drunk
and
all
she's
the
like,
time.
you don't, he's like, no, she's like trying to grab, like, no, you don't have to do that.
She's looking
what
for
do you think-
attention. She's just feeling that nobody loves her. Even her husband's
Okay.
forcing her to
What do you
play the
what-
piano.
okay, what was that scene? What Sean hit on something real important, so small in the movie. So what was he telling his mother this for when he says, "Mom, you don't have to do that"? What was she going to do? What do you think?
You mean about the drinking?
No,
Or what scene?
no, it was
She had
something
her
with
sh-
him.
Yeah, her dress was kind of revealed. Now the scene was, if you go back and watch it again, you'll see.
She's always provocative. He's coming in and she's like hanging out of her dress practically.
Oh my
and
God,
all.
I didn't get any of that vibe at all.
Watch
I
it
thought-
again.
Watch it.
I
guess
thought
I'll have
maybe
to.
I thought what was going to happen was she was going to develop a relationship with Phil.
Mhm.
That she was going to be the one
Yeah.
to seduce Phil and
Yeah.
try to get him that way.
There's going to be some Legends of the Fall action or something.
Yeah, something was going to happen that she was going to be participating in, and I never ever got the vibe that she was going.
What about
after
the
him.
other guys?
What other guys?
John,
These,
Chris.
oh,
the guys here on the telecast?
I'm sorry. I thought you meant the other Cowboys.
I mean, I did think when she was drunk and she's bringing him into the bedroom because she hadn't seen him for a while. That kind of had a weird vibe to me.
It was
I
a
don't
weird
deny
vibe.
that, but I just thought it was because she was off a rocker at that point, so I didn't really read much into it. Other than that, I don't know. The thing for me, look, he kills the pet rabbit. And then the other rabbit that broke his leg, well, you're going to have to put the thing down. Okay, no problem. Snaps the neck, there's blood all over the place. So you knew right away. And then when he took the skin off the diseased cow, because, they foreshadowed that, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, what's that for? And then when they made a point of when he's washing his hands, Benedict, they got the camera in the water and you see all the blood and everything.
He's not washing
as
his
he's
hands. He was treating
he's treating the rope. The rope.
Right.
So you knew something was going on. But for what I didn't quite get and why, when it was over, I said to Rosie, do you realize what just happened here? Because it almost seemed to me that at one point, like especially when they were looking out at the mountains and the kids saw
the dog in the mountain.
the dog in the mountain, all of a sudden that relationship with him changed. And he really seemed like it didn't seem like he was trying to be with him physically. I didn't get that vibe, but he got to the point where he was actually trying to help the kid. And it seemed genuine to me. I mean, he wasn't nearly as big of a bully as he had been the entire movie. And he really seemed genuinely to care about the kid, not just in a sexual way. Because like that thing really impressed me because you see that? Nobody sees that. So
Debbie
when
didn't see it.
the
I didn't
ending
see it.
happened, I was like,
See that dog?
what the hell? He seemed to be making a turn. And now you just did that to him. It really threw me off. That's why I go, did I just see what I just saw at the end of this movie?
Yeah.
Because even in the reviews, even the director says they left it a little bit ambiguous. Well, they really didn't.
No, I don't
But-
think so. No. Yeah.
But you can sit there at the end and go, well, what did I just see? What just happened? Because leading up to that, things seem to have been gotten better.
Well, where
With
I
their
thought
relationship.
what the director I think was doing, that whole scene at the end where he's making the rope.
Yeah.
And that's when the kid starts asking him about Bronco Henry.
Right.
And the way she's shooting it and the way they're twisting the rope and Cumberbatch keeps putting it against his hip and he's doing this whole thing. It's very provocative, very sexual, I thought. And the kid even said, the last line he said is, "Did you see him naked?" And I just think he was playing with Cumberbatch was definitely grooming him to be his,
Yes.
to be
Exactly.
his,
Not
And here's
necessarily.
the thing.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the
maybe.
feeling I get.
maybe
that he's going to be the Bronco Henry to his film,
Maybe.
you know,
This is why I like the film, because, and now that we're talking about the in-depth of it, I wish we had the director here. We could ask
Oh, yeah.
her.
let me give her a
why-
call.
Can you, Sean? Can you call
I'll
her?
reach out on Twitter.
Please do.
Maybe Linda Opes knows her.
But the thing is about this film, it was set up to be ambiguous. The whole film is set up to be questioning.
Until the end. I didn't think it was
Right,
ambiguous
until
at the
the
end.
end.
It was
Well-
perfectly clear he saved his mother. That scene where he looks out the window and she's hugging after the funeral and she's hugging George in that driveway. He saved his mother. And he takes the
Well, they
the rope-
repeated that scene.
Yeah.
They repeated the scene at the beginning of the movie when Benedict is walking down the street and it's shot through the window and he's all cocky walking through. And then at the end, he's sick and he's going to the hospital and it's the exact same shot.
Yep.
So it was a complete circle on that.
Right.
But again, I almost felt like, and I almost felt a tinge of sympathy for his character because I really felt like he was trying to do the. And again, I don't know. You know, we can speculate on what the motivation is. Okay, fine. But he really seemed to be making an effort to connect with this kid. So to see that happen, I felt the twang of sympathy for the character. I was like, holy crap, I can't believe they just did that to this guy, including his stepfather's brother. You know?
Yeah.
but he-
So here's the thing. I thought that, although he was befriending the boy, and I think there was genuine, like, a desire. It wasn't just sexual, but it was a desire to, like, make the boy's life better. But that actually made him more hostile to the kid's mother.
Yes,
Because he's like,
that's
you
true.
can't let your mother make a sissy out of you.
Right.
Right.
He felt he had to.
And the
I
mother
think
did
more
not
he
like
went-
that
the more he
relationship
liked
at all.
the boy, the more he wanted to rescue the boy from the mother.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
but
true.
I also think that what he wanted there was he wanted the boy for himself. He wanted George. George is his name, right?
No,
He wanted George for himself. He
Pete,
wanted
right.
to separate George from his mother.
Yeah.
And-
No, Peter.
George,
Peter,
George,
I'm
George
sorry.
was the brother.
George is
George was the brother.
Yeah.
My mistake, guys.
He wanted George too. to
God
himself.
damn it,
Yeah,
it's
he
Pete.
did
get him,
It's
so he
Pete.
wanted
You're
Peter.
right. He did.
Peter.
He wanted, but he really wanted Peter for himself, and he sees the mother as this, obstacle. So I don't think he was ever going to stop, like, till he drove her literally over. the edge.
That's Peter
Yeah.
saw that, and that's the whole point.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to stop till she was dead. And
The
Peter,
story could have ended with him killing her. That's right. And so
Yeah.
Peter stopped that. That's
Peter
right.
did not want that to happen. And
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think that, I just thought it was kind of nice because because it puts it together. You do have Peter's disgust with his own mother about what she's turned into with all the pressure and whatnot on her. And then you think to yourself, well, maybe he is just going to go off with this guy and he's just going to cut her out of his life and let her waste away or whatever. But instead, he doesn't.
well, that
Yeah,
would have,
Like I said, for me, the backstory for me helped me understand that more because if he blames this guy for killing his father, which he in the book he does, and then he sees his mother could be down the same path, then that makes more sense to me, that kind of drastic approach at the end of the movie, more than just what was going on during the film. Because a lot of it's speculation of what would happen. He already lost his dad from this guy. He didn't want to lose his mother. I got that a little bit.
Okay, how did Cumberbatch kill his father?
Well, what happened was him and his buddies beat the guy up.
In the book.
And as
yeah.
a result of the bad beating, he started drinking, and his drinking led to him hanging himself.
Why did they beat him up?
Because that's what I mean. Look at the beginning of the movie. I was surprised no one got beaten up because they look like they're in town to just cause trouble.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
whatever
Phil's
the
a-
reason was,
he was
Phil's
a
a
total
dick.
bully. He was a
Yeah.
bully.
Yeah.
the whole crew was. I mean, they were all bullies.
Yeah, they're
I mean,
making
they
fun
were-
of that kid from the word go.
Right,
And that kid,
right.
that kid.
So I'm sure with if with the husband, they're not going to just bully him verbally. They're going to bully him, physically, which is probably what happened. So it made me understand it a little bit more. But I don't know. I mean, again,
I think Cumberbatch, we don't know whether he was, what if he had found him in the bed? What would the mother have done if they go up in that room and they're sleeping together? I mean, that would have been it.
she would have gotten George, and George would have been very upset.
She would have,
No,
she
she-
might have killed
she
herself
would've-
at that point.
No,
Right.
she would have just gone and had another drink.
Right.
That's what her
Exactly.
solution was. to
Exactly.
everything.
Yeah.
So
But I do want to say one thing about this film. You know, I'm not as much afraid of spoilers and telling spoilers,
You're
but I'll
very
tell
brave.
you, my enjoyment of this film would have been totally ruined if I had known what was going to happen.
yes, you cannot.
Yes.
Yes, I agree with that.
This was definitely
Yeah.
a film that had
Oh.
to unwind at its own
I know-
pace,
Yes.
you know, and in its own way. You know, it's not
Well, because
like-
it pays off the fact that it was such a slow movie and it took so long for anything to happen. It
I
really
didn't
does
find
pay
it
off at the
slow.
end.
I know it like
it was slow. I mean, you can't say you might enjoy it, but it was slow.
Language.
It was
No,
definitely
slow's a
language.
negative. Language is a
Language.
positive. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know, slow's a negative. That means you were bored.
No, not necessarily, but
Well,
No,
that's
it's
how
a
I take it.
quiet. I should say we should call it a quiet film.
Okay.
oh,
It is pretty quiet. You know, it also reminded me of another film that's now that when I say this, Kelly, my wife will watch this and go, well, now
Silence of
If
the
it's like
Lambs.
if it's like that movie, I am not watching The Power
Not
of the
Silence
Dog.
of the Lambs.
No, it's The Assassination of Jesse James by
Oh,
Howard
my
Robert
God.
Ford.
That you talk
Which
about a
is a-
languid film.
You brought
Which
up
is
a
a-
Brad Pitt movie.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
it's
a
a
languid.
it's
that's a
languid and it's
languid,
glorious. It's
gorgeous,
it's-
fantastic.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh.
That's an amazing film. That's a good comparison
That's
because
an
there's a
amazing
lot.
movie.
There's a lot of. There's a lot of. You know, there's just a lot of badness in that film too. Just under.
Well, that
the
only got
surface of it.
nominated for 2 Oscars for
Yeah.
Brad Pitt. And
That's a
Roger
good. That's a
Deakins
good
for
callback. Now, the other
cinematography.
thing about this one is now that you know what happens, you watch it with a different eye, because now
Yeah.
you really watch to see what the kid was doing throughout this. Everything kind of obviously that's any film you do that once you go back and like Usual Suspects too. You go back, you that. But this
Yeah,
one,
Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. Sorry, spoilers. I mean, it's
I knew that from the
No.
that's one. I didn't even go see that movie, and I said to someone, "The guy's dead. It's obvious. The guy's dead."
It was
The
not
Crying
obvious
Game.
in that movie.
She's a guy.
Somebody ruined that for me. So I had seen.
Me
I had.
too.
I went and
Yeah,
saw
me
that after someone had said to me, "The guy has a dick." She has a dick.
Yeah, me
I'm
too.
like, oh,
that was
shit,
not cool.
what?
It was
Yeah,
David Letterman.
that was
who
another
ruined
film
for me.
that did
David
not-
Letterman.
David
What?
Letterman told you the
There
payoff
was
of it.
literally like, because here's the thing. I was at school in Salisbury, right, when that movie came out, when The Crying Game came out, right. So obviously, I was doing everything I could to stay away from it,
Yep.
all this stuff, and then literally one night, I was watching David Letterman, and this is of course like 2 or 3 months after the film came out, right, and he's like. He did his top 10 and he's like, it's like The Crying Game. It's a guy. And I was like, that was like number 8 on his top 10 for whatever. And I
That's
was like,
not cool. That is not cool. No,
It was
if I had
still-
known, if
still
I
really
had
like that
known,
film, though.
if I had
It was a
known
good
the ending
film.
of this one, it would have. Because I thought it was going
But
in the other
here's the
direction.
thing, the Titanic, we all know what happened.
That's
We
different.
watch
Apollo 13. I still cry when I watch Apollo 13. when
Yeah.
they-
Yeah.
Of course.
They
Are they
land in
going
the
to come
water.
out of the? Are they going to come out of the ionization barrier?
Right.
Are they going
I
to
still
make it through? I
that
don't know.
scene still gets
but
me
I
when they're
know.
coming through. Right. So
I know.
no, this one would be
I mean-
ruined if you knew that the kid was
Mhm.
ultimately what he's going to do.
Well, but here's the thing, though. If you said I'm going to watch this movie and I know that Benedict Cumberbatch gets murdered, I mean that is a spoiler.
that's not.
But
the
you
same.
really don't know what that
Yeah.
means, or
You don't
how
know the
get
master
there.
plan that was in place.
Right,
Right, that's
because
why
you
when
meet
Sean-
his character and you're like, this guy is kind of a monster.
Yeah.
But it's not as simple as someone's going to kill the monster.
And have you ever
There's a lot
seen
more to
a
it.
skinnier kid than that kid?
He was
Cody
very
Smith
thin.
McPhee is
That
well, you
kid
know
was
him.
Skinny.
You know him as Nightcrawler from the X-Men movie.
Oh, he was in which one? Dark Phoenix?
He's in Dark Phoenix and I think First Class. One of the
Wow,
other.
he
earlier
was
movies. And
like.
he's
I mean,
also,
I couldn't believe how skinny that kid was.
He's also
Yeah,
the
he was
little
too
kid
skinny
in,
for me.
He's also
Eat
the
something,
little
will
kid
ya?
in the
that
road.
skinny. Sean used to be that skinny
Yeah, and
He's
I
in the
changed.
road with Viggo
Sean, when
Mortensen.
were you that skinny?
when he was a boy.
Oh,
When
we're
he was
talking like
Peter
I
three.
Sage.
can't wait till my 20s.
Are we talking about 3? Sean, how old were you? When-
That's enough body shaming, Mr.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Well, he invited it. So, well, yeah, I thought everybody did very well in this film. I think
Oh,
I'm
the
gonna go-
performances! I
Yeah.
thought, like I said, the performances I thought were great.
I was not disappointed in the least. I think I would have been disappointed if it went the other way because I was expecting it to go that way, and it's just
Oh.
I didn't want him to be groomed like that. I just didn't like
yeah,
that.
Yeah, good.
And I liked the way what the kid did. I thought it was he was protecting his mother. As bad as she was driven completely nuts.
yes.
That piano, that's a great scene. The piano.
Oh,
banjo
yeah.
scene.
Well, plus the
It's just-
husband was hardly ever there; he was always away.
Yeah,
So
he's
she was
driving his little
alone.
buggy, you know, his buggy.
He was a
right.
little weak, the husband.
Yeah, but that's
Yes, he was.
Soft.
but that's what she needed. She needed someone like him. She just didn't need the brother doing what the brother was doing. And
Right.
George steps up to him at the end. George, has his scene at the end in the barn there where he confronts his brother right before all this other stuff went down. So, and ultimately they're gonna have they're hugging in the driveway. They're gonna have a good relationship. So
Well, there's one.
I don't
other-
think she's
there's
ever
one
gonna learn
other-
the piano, but
Yeah. Well, she's going to learn it enough. Maybe not good enough for the governor,
Right.
but enough. She was fine. There's one other angle we haven't talked about with this movie, which is the biblical angle.
right, the
Which
power
is
of the
the
dog is a
meaning
biblical
of-
quote.
The title. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
from Psalm 22. And the line is, deliver my soul from the sword, my darling from the power of the dog. And Psalm 22 is one of the Davidic lamentations. It's basically a whole bunch of requests for God to protect me from evil. And then when you get to the end, this is verse, I have it pulled up, 20. So it's about halfway through. But by the time you get to the end, it's a lot of thank you, God, you protected me. But the power of the dog is a threat that you only can be saved from by God, essentially. Like that's the kind of danger. And for Peter to look at that, I mean, he explicitly reads the psalm at the end of the movie. Like there's no, oh, that's what the title means, I'm inferring that. Like he literally looks at that and he took that power to protect his suffering mother into his own hands.
Yep.
And I mean that specific psalm, I mean, it's written by King David, and then it's been reinterpreted as also something that is to do with Christ protecting people. I mean, it's like a lot of other things that have been expanded and grown upon, but it's essentially about protect me from something that's overwhelming
Yeah.
and awful. And that's what Peter did for his mom.
That's
Whether
what I mean.
you
I don't think the
it was
movie's
right or not.
ambiguous.
That's what he did.
The movie's not ambiguous in the least. It might have got there ambiguously, trying to
Yeah.
lead you down a path, but it was definitely not ambiguous about what was going on. And that's what I loved
100%.
about it.
And you
And
know,
that turn-
Drew, I love when you bring the Bible into discussion, because I am always fascinated with the dog in the Bible, because even the woman who, and what passage always confronts me when I'm reading, it's always mystifying to me, is the passage about the dog. Let me just,
Be like a dog.
eating at the
the
scraps of the table. And that, when you think about that, that's the most humblest thing somebody could say. Oh, just let me sit here under the table like a dog and eat the scraps of the food from the people.
Well, it's interesting because I think in different parts of the Torah, of the Bible, of different things, the dog means different things. It's not always bad. Like in this, it's an example of a threat, but it is something primal. I cannot remember exactly where it's from, but there's a after the 5 books of Moses, it might be in Joshua or something, but essentially one of the Hebrew leaders has to pick an army of soldiers, and he is told, take them to the river and watch how they drink. And some of them put it in their hands
Judges.
and they drink it. And then some of them put their face right in the water like a dog, and that's how they drink. And those, the ones that are like dogs, those are the soldiers that you want, because it's a primal,
Because drinking
beastly.
in the water, you got your ears or what?
Well, because you went right for it with your whole face, your whole body.
Oh,
you are
you're
an
that
animal.
thirsty.
You are an animal. And so,
your thirst quenched.
right.
I
And for
see that.
Peter to protect his mother from the animal, I mean, Phil is clearly a monster. There are reasons for it. We discovered that he's broken and sad, and he is in a lot of ways a sad character, but he is a real threat to Peter's mom, and Peter handles
I'm
it.
telling you, the scene about the skins where he throws away the skins with that throwaway line where she says he burns the skins. That
Yep.
shows who he is. He's
Yep.
just doing it for show. It's all a show. Now, whether Bronco
And
Henry,
the other guys admire him.
that's right. He's doing it for
right.
them.
They idolize him the way he
His brother
idolized
idolizes him. The
Bronco.
governor
Yes, he does.
idolizes him. The governor's wife, everybody idolizes this guy.
Look, in every high school movie, it's never just the football. There's never just the quarterback bullying the nerd. There's always 3 guys behind him
Yeah.
that are, backing him up and stuff. And that's Phil, and that's his Cowboys, and they're all impressed with him. And it turns out, if you're not impressed by that sort of thing and you think that he's a danger, you'll murder him.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's going to win. I think it's between this and Licorice. Licorice Pizza, and I haven't seen Licorice Pizza.
Only
but
one
I,
that I haven't seen.
yeah, I try to go.
really
You know what? The
have.
problem is it plays at the movie theater, but it plays one time, like at 9:00 at night. They're just ridiculous the way they're laying these things out.
Yeah,
And,
I can't say who I think will win. I haven't seen enough of them to even have an opinion. Some years I know there's a movie it may or may not win.
Yeah,
Like Crash.
Like Crash was a humongous piece of garbage and
Yeah.
it won, and also had that's the year where they had dance interpretations of each Best Picture nominee. So
Yeah.
really among the lowest. But like Spotlight won in the 2016 Oscars, and Spotlight is a really good movie. It's not Mad Max Fury Road, which it beat, but it's a really good movie.
but I predicted
last
that
year,
one. I said Spotlight
course.
would win, so I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense that it won.
I think
But,
Power of the
mean,
Dog
last
is gonna
year.
win. I think it's going.
I think it will probably, but like last year, there was one clear movie to me that was the best movie, and that was Promising Young Woman. But I didn't see all the nominees last year, and I didn't see all the movies. Critics will see more than 100 movies a year. We're just not going to see all of them, especially with streaming and all this other stuff. So I think I'm glad that I watched it, and I hope you guys are glad that you took a look at it together too.
Can I say one thing about the Oscars? I will
No.
say that for over 20 years, I was correct about the writers, the script winners for over 20 years. Now it's too screwy. There's too much politics in it. So you
Yeah.
got to guess by politics. And I was also always right about the editors. And the way to guess is the film that wins best editor is the film that has the most editing.
I'm
and
not
somebody
sure
else
about-
pointed me out about I do this because I used to have pools all the time. I'd have 100 people in the Oscar pool. Drew was probably in some. I know Kelly.
Sure.
And so, I used to have these pools with people from all over the country. And the one thing about cinematography, and it's usually been proven correct, someone told me, watch, the film that wins is the one that has the most outdoor shots. And that,
Like
and
1917.
that sounds stupid, but it turns out usually to be true.
Yeah, we're
Then
treating-
Power of the Dog will win.
Yeah, it should.
Yeah.
win
I
for
think-
that.
No, I think this one will win.
I didn't see the
cinematography.
dog in the mountains, by the way, Debbie. I don't know what the hell he was looking at.
Well, go back and look at it. You'll see the shadow is the jaws of a dog. It's interesting.
Okay.
I literally stopped it and made the outline with the stick
I had to look at
around the dog's
it,
face.
and there was the dog. In the,
Yeah, it
in
took
the-
you a long time to see it.
He had a
Hey, before we end, I want to say something about the Oscars. Two things, actually. I think the Oscars are irrelevant now because I think they pick movies that in their bubble they all enjoy, and they tend to have messages behind them they all support, as opposed to movies that people enjoy. And I want to talk about box office for a second. The top 5 box office of the movies that were picked: West Side Story, 36.7 million. King Richard, 14.9 million. Licorice Pizza, 12.7. Nightmare Alley, 10.8. Belfast, 7.4. Spider-Man No Way Home just crossed $1.8 billion. The reason why I bring it up, a few years back, Black Panther, which was a good movie, was not an Oscar. It should not have been an Oscar contender. It wasn't that good, but they nominated it, and they nominated it for a bunch of different reasons. But this is a movie that, with 10 movies being chosen, it was one that should have been picked. It was a great movie. It brought people back to the box office when people aren't going to the movie theater.
That's
And
true.
the fact that they skipped it is an absolute shame, and they should have picked it. The other thing about the Oscar ceremony itself, and I am an unapologetic conservative, half the country doesn't watch anymore because all they do is get preached to every award show, and they're tired of it. And in the old days, one person would make some political statement like Marlon Brando or George C. Scott. But now every presenter gets up there and trashes half the country, and people don't want to see that anymore. The whole thing about the Oscars was the escapism of seeing movie stars, right? And enjoying that. People and Ralph, I think you brought up a great point. We see these people all the time. They're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, they're preaching all over the place, as opposed to you see them in the movies and you see them at the Oscars. That's when you see these people. So I think that's really impacted it. And frankly, I think they're aware of it, because if you look at the ratings of not just the Oscars, but almost all the award shows, they're all heading south because they want to be entertained. They don't want to be preached to. And in their own little bubble, they all preach to each other. And I think that's another reason.
That's part of it, but I also think nobody gives a crap about these award shows anymore. It's not about there's a lot of things not being watched. The Olympics aren't being watched either.
Yeah.
Well,
We're
because it's in
watching-
China.
Well, no,
China.
okay, there's that. No, a lot of people watch it regardless, but nobody's watching it. This is not about. I understand what you're
They
saying.
watched the Super Bowl.
They're
I think-
damn
I
right
think
they
it's-
did.
I think it's more about, as Ralph is, I think what you're
And the
saying is
conservatives
more
all
about-
railed about that halftime show too. They couldn't
it's,
take it.
yeah.
Too much
It's
sex.
more about. It's more
No,
about.
don't
the
talk about half the
fracture.
country. Half the country,
It's. I think it's more about the fracture of how we watch these.
Yes,
movies
That's
and
true.
television
It's-
shows.
that's
That, to
true,
me, is
yeah.
the
I
biggest-
really
that is-
think
there's a
that's
lot
the
of
key.
people. There's a lot of people who could say, "I don't want to watch the Oscars because I don't care what Meryl Streep thinks about the crisis in Syria or something." But the biggest reason those people don't watch the Oscars is the same reason a lot of people of all political stripes don't watch the Oscars, which is there's 10 movies and I've seen 2 of them, but
Yeah.
I've been totally watching this streaming show or these other movies,
Right.
or I'm sorry I watched Book of Boba Fett or things like there's so much more.
well,
There's more of
when we were
everything.
growing
And this
up, it
comes
was
back to what I said earlier.
3
That
channels.
movies have been losing
They
their
have.
cultural relevance.
Yes.
That's why Spider-Man should have been nominated.
I don't disagree.
see
with
it,
that.
Drew?
I think it
I
should.
haven't-
have
Oh,
I
been
was
you
on.
gonna
haven't seen it
say,
'cause you're-
I have not seen that movie. 100%. I will see that movie.
Oh,
I didn't.
you
It,
go
gotta
it
to
love
should
the
have been
theater.
on for the reason you're talking about, which is everybody loved it. It should have been on there for that. It should not win, obviously not win the best picture.
No, that's
But-
not my
but
point.
it should have been on the list.
Out of
It
10
should have been on the
movies,
list. I don't
Yeah.
it should
disagree
have been
with that.
nominated.
Titanic was on.
Well, that's
Yeah,
James
that won a
Cameron.
few Oscars.
James
Look, when
Cameron
District
is a
9,
genius.
when District 9 was nominated, I was thrilled because
Excellent
I thought
movie.
maybe more people will see that because that was one of those movies that I went to see in the theater.
That's
and it
not-
was
that's-
so much
okay,
more
that's-
and
again,
better than I
that's-
thought it was.
This,
But Spider-Man got nominated, I think, for visual effects and sound.
Just
or
one. It
something.
was nominated for one. I think.
Just one. And I mean,
Yeah.
that movie, look, I mean, you can say you don't like superhero movies. You do like superhero movies. There is something to the idea that, listen, everybody saw this movie. That must mean something. But then they start to toy around with what they did a couple of years ago. And I think they're going to do some version of it again. Let's have a people's favorite. Well, that's
Yeah.
bullshit.
Right.
That's
That's
stupid.
just, I mean, that's just silly. If Spider-Man No Way Home is really a really good movie, then there shouldn't be any shame in voting
Right.
for it or wanting it. But the biggest thing to me, as I said right at the beginning, the reason that I think the Oscars are important is that maybe you haven't seen a movie that I really think should be seen, and now you'll see it. And that's not.
that's the
Spider-Man
only
No
thing.
Way
Like I
Home.
want to see
Yeah,
Coda.
it's not.
I want to see Belfast. I want to see these
But you'll
other
see
films.
it on streaming. You won't go to the movie.
No, I was. I'm telling you, I went to look for Licorice Pizza, and I really wanted to see Power of the Dog in the movie theater. I didn't know it was just Netflix only. It might have gone out there for a little bit.
It was
Like-
out in the
like,
fall. For
you
10
can't
minutes or
find
something,
them.
yeah.
I wanted to go. Licorice Pizza's playing at 4:50 one time at some, out of the way thing, and I just, it's just upsetting. And I went on my way to see West Side Story, and Jesus,
Ugh.
I should have just stayed home.
And you know what?
I told you.
I know, but there's some anyway. I'm
I
so
want to see
disappointed.
East Side Story.
Ah,
Yeah, that's what I want to see. Absolutely.
isn't that?
Yeah, but everybody in that speaks Russian, and it's not translated,
That's
so you won't like that either.
it's Puerto Rican.
Yeah,
and
So I
Russian.
was
A
kind
little
of
Odessa.
a
disappointed.
lot of American. We speak American here. Damn it! What?
Was the
Sorry, guys,
tender
I
bar.
actually have to.
I think that was probably the best one I saw at the theaters.
Yeah.
All
You have to bolt?
All right. This
I'm
went on.
afraid
Wait, this
so.
went on as long as the Oscars go on. It went on too long. We're
Oh.
being
Oh, it's not that long.
Play
Listen,
the
I want to
music.
thank the Academy for
play
letting
the
me
music.
come on
Get
this
him out of here.
podcast.
Get him
All
out. Play the music.
guys.
All
See you
right.
later, Chris.
Talk to you
All right,
soon.
Chris.
Good
Hey,
seeing
Chris.
you again, Drew.
You too, bud. Have a
See
good
you
one.
later.
You too, guys.
All right, we gotta. Music
All right, let's
now.
wrap it up, Ralph. This is a long one.
You know,
Right.
can I say something? I would like
Absolutely.
to recommend that
Of
everyone
course.
like and subscribe to the podcast.
Wow.
I think it's worth your time.
An hour and a half later.
I hope
Yeah.
I hope that an hour and a half later that you decided, yes, it's time. This is only half the length of the assassination of Jesse James.
This
by the
episode
coward
deserved a
Robert
little
Ford.
extra time, I
Well,
think.
Drew, thanks to you. Thanks
Yeah.
for coming back.
Yeah, Drew.
Yeah,
It was fun to come back.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
to see you.
All right.
If you
Drew,
guys
think
want
you'll
me
be
to-
coming
if you
back
guys-
again?
If you guys want me to come back sometime soon and bring the big country,
Why
it would be my
not?
pleasure, because that is a fabulous movie.
I think I remember
Really?
that film, but I'm not.
Would you come back
100%.
for Once Upon a Time in the West?
Oh,
Sure. That's a great movie. I'll come back
Classic.
whenever you guys want me to come back. You want me to
All right.
come back every week? I'll come back.
But
And-
before we do that, we still have to do
No.
our round robin. So I don't know what we're going to do next week, but we'll figure it out.
I thought we're doing World War II next week. That's not
Yeah,
next
I
week.
gotta call
He's
Aaron.
got to call his son-in-law.
I'm going to be on the road next week. I'm going to do this broadcast on the road.
I'll text
Wow.
Eric today.
Where you going,
I'll have a
John?
message.
North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina.
For a
Charlotte.
job or for fun?
No, for a job.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay, good. All right. You gonna be able to broadcast from your hotel room? Is that what you're trying to do?
I'm certainly gonna try.
All right, we'll do that. All right, so we'll try the round robin next week if we can get it. If not, we'll try something else. But Drew, thank you very much for jumping on.
Yeah, good to see you, Drew.
Thank you for having me. Good
My
to see you
prediction
guys
is
too.
that one's gonna win. It's either that or licorice pizza. That's my prediction right now. I'm making
Well,
my
if
prediction.
it doesn't win, then I'm sure Jane Campion will make a very special rope for all of the
I
voters.
think she should. All right, everybody, have a good week. John, we'll see you next week from whatever hotel room you're going to be in North
All right.
Carolina.
We'll see you.
Everybody stay safe. We'll talk to you soon.
Everyone have a great week.
See you guys.
Bye bye.